Hello, everybody, and welcome to Cool Sports Guy. I'm Tom. Joining me today is Jared. How are you doing today, Jared?
I am doing pretty good. Could be better, could be worse. Just kind of in the middle.
You're a little frozen there, so hopefully it gets better for us.
From my point of view, yours is also like your mouth is not matching up with your words, which is wonderful.
I was joking. I didn't actually say anything there. It's okay.
Oh
okay.
wait, I think it fixed itself.
Yeah, hopefully.
Okay,
Yeah.
It's good now.
There you go. Cool. Hey, look at that progression. All right, so welcome, and we are going to go into some Thursday night thinkers and talks, but we did want to bring up a couple of teams that are struggling, probably a little worse than we thought for the most part, and we want to talk about whether if it's the struggling team's QB's fault or if it's the team's fault. So we'll jump right into it. Are you ready?
Yep.
Cool. So before we start, guys, check us out on our website, coolsportsguy.com, our Twitter, our Instagram, and our Facebook. And thank you so much for watching. And we will get started. So here we go. So QB's fault or the team's fault? This is always fun. Well, it is a team sport. But let's see. So first one is, hey, look back at week 9. This is, by the way, it's week 9 and week 10. I want to talk about both of these weeks because we did not get a chance to come on and do a show last week. So here we go. Where in the world is Matthew Stafford? Okay, well, we know where Matthew Stafford is. He's in LA. And you know what? He's not doing so great. So he obviously missed the last game, but he will be back for week 11. That being said, the Rams are now 3-6.
3-6, yeah. Barely better record than the Chicago Bears, which you know is definitely not a good thing for a defending Super Bowl team.
It's not. Talk about a Super Bowl hangover. Clearly, it doesn't look too good for them. And I don't know if you heard the news. Obviously, Cooper Kupp is going to be out for about a month now. So already struggling offense. They don't have a good offensive line. They've had some health issues among the receiver group. Cooper Kupp is the only one that was kind of carrying them for the most part, but not carrying them enough to get wins. I think the Bucs game, the fashion they lost in, that was their last hope, and the way they lost was a slap in the face, and it was kind of a letdown. Obviously, Stafford will return, but Kupp is going to be out. I personally think they're going to struggle, and like it says, hey, Rams. I forgot a T right there. I just realized that. Rams won't make the playoff this season. So that's my two takes. I think Matthew Stafford is a good quarterback. I've had a lot of respect for him back in Detroit. I still think he could be good. But he's definitely dealt with some injuries. And my thing is oftentimes he needs that number one guy to throw the ball to more often than anybody. And, you know, obviously he had that number one target in Detroit in Megatron. And here he had Cooper Kupp to throw to. Kupp was a little banged up, obviously, and now he's out. And Stafford just can't get into the rhythm, especially when there's pressure in his face. So they're going to struggle. They're not going to make the playoffs. I don't know, maybe they'll win 1 or 2 more games. Maybe even if they win 4 more games, they're going to win 7 total moving forward. Not going to be good enough to make the playoffs, in my opinion. So what are your thoughts?
Yeah, before the show, I had said I don't know if they'll win a single game without Cooper Kupp. I did happen to pull up their schedule, and I don't know if I would go that far because they are playing some very bad teams that I think they could win even without Kupp. Given with how Stafford's played, I don't know if he can even carry them to wins, though. Stafford, I don't know what happened. He's not the youngest. I think Russell Wilson's the youngest of the guys we're talking about. I think he's actually the oldest. But point being, he's not that old yet. I think he's like 36. Could be wrong.
He's not 36. He's like 34 years old.
Okay. I thought he was older than that. There's no reason for this man.
You keep talking. I'm going to look this up now.
There's no reason for him to be playing as bad as he is. Like, I know, like, his offensive line is battered, yes, and there's a lot of injuries, but his running back room isn't, like, great by any means. But Darrell Henderson, Cam Akers when he plays, isn't a bad group. At receiver, you have the best receiver in football in Cooper Kupp. Allen Robinson, he's been kind of off the last 2 years, but he's still a solid option. Van Jefferson, he has been injured this year, but he recently came back, hasn't really gotten into it, so I don't know if that really counts. Tyler Higbee's a pretty solid tight end. He's up in that 10-ish range for tight ends. I think he should be playing better than he is. I think, I don't know what the problem is, but Matthew Stafford is not playing like himself. He's playing, honestly, really bad in the games I've seen. As you know, I'm kind of like a low-key Rams fan for the most part because of Kupp. I've watched a few Rams games, quite a lot of Rams games.
It's not low-key.
Yeah, I guess it's not. But, I don't want to put all of the blame on the quarterback because wins and losses is not a quarterback stat, but a lot of it has to do with Matthew Stafford. He has been really bad. There's been easy throws he's missed this year. His decision-making hasn't been great. Even his arm strength looks like it's borderline shot at this point. I don't want to go as far to say this, but I will say it kind of reminds me of last year when we had the corpse of Big Ben playing. That's what Matthew Stafford looks like at this point. I think that this
I'm gonna stop you right there. Don't say corpse of Big Ben. It's not an argument you're gonna win.
It is an argument I'm gonna win, but point being, I think this elbow injury that was we talked about going into the season, where that's why he didn't play in the preseason. There was some kind of
Big Ben did have that too.
Oh, so yeah, that's obviously what it is. I think that it honestly has a lot of effect because Matthew Stafford's arm doesn't look like he has the arm talent that he's always had. And I like the Rams, but yeah, they're not making the playoffs this year. I don't even know if they could possibly win out the rest of the year. They play some tough teams. They do have some easier games. The Saints aren't good. They play this upcoming week. They play the Raiders, which we all know what the Raiders are. The Broncos, I think those are the only ones that I would say are definitely winnable. Everything else is going to be a toss-up or definitely a loss. So Rams, yeah, they're not making the playoffs.
So a couple of things. Number one, as a person who deals with tendonitis quite often, I will say this. You can throw a football all you want, but when you have tendonitis hurting your elbows, man, you pull back a little. You don't let loose as much as you want to because it hurts. Secondly, Matthew Stafford is 34. Russell Wilson, another quarterback we're going to be talking about today, is 33 years old. And the other quarterback we're going to be talking about today, Derek Carr, is 31 years old. And I did not look up how old Justin Fields is. I don't know. I think he's 21,
22,
maybe 19, 22. Okay,
he's no, he's 23.
23. Cool.
I forgot how old I was. I know he's a year older than I am.
Oh God, you're 22.
Yes.
All right, I'm gonna start calling you little baby Jared. Cool. All right, so nothing else to add. Yeah, look, Stafford isn't playing very well right now. Even when he is being protected, you're right. He just makes some weird, interesting decisions. But hey. All I know is Rams won the Super Bowl last year. I think he deserved it. So did Aaron Donald. And this year, they're not even going to make the playoffs. And I'm okay with it because you know what? As a guy who roots for Tom Brady and the Bucs, I don't really want the Rams defense to face the Bucs offensive line right now. So I'm okay with it. Even though the Bucs just won.
Yeah, I think I don't know. So to end the segment on Stafford, who do you think is the who is more at fault, the team or Stafford?
Well, I think if I have to, from a number standpoint, if I had to pick, I would say 60-40, and the 60 being the team. If I only have to choose between the team or Stafford, obviously I'm going to go with the team because, look, at the end of the day, I can Stafford isn't playing very, and it's a very, very. This is probably the closest one out of all the quarterbacks we're talking about, where I would say it's almost to the middle because Stafford isn't playing that great at all. But that being said, he also had so Bucs have the worst offensive line in football, or one of the worst offensive line in football, but Rams had the most in the last 8 weeks, their offensive line changed more than anybody else's offensive line has. And that is a big deal to a quarterback that is not mobile and a pocket passer, that's a huge deal. That's like the number one thing you take care of when you have a quarterback that is, and let's face reality. The reality is you regressed a little bit on defense. Your defense was much better last year too. So I think overall, and the play calling, I think Sean McVay used to come up with some amazing play calls on the offense, and you're seeing a little less of it this year. So overall, I think too many things has regressed for me to say it's all on Matthew Stafford. So if I have to put the blame on one, I'll put it on the team.
I think that's honestly like exactly word for word what I would have brought up. I think that's some very good points. I do think Stafford, he definitely needs to turn it around, but I think the elbow injury, I don't know how it works with tendonitis. I don't know if it's like if you rest it long enough you'll be fine type of thing.
Yeah.
But I think he needs to like sit the rest of the season out something because his arm's not it right now.
If I'm the Rams and you lose 2 more games and you don't have a shot at all, just rest the guy. Don't, because the more you play with the hurt elbow, the more you're going to aggravate it. And then there are workouts and there are things you can do to kind of help the area. You oftentimes there's workouts you can do to help the elbow, and then there's things you can do to kind of build the muscles like your biceps, triceps, and like forearm muscle around that elbow to take the edge off of your elbow and your joints more. That's what prevents it from hurting. But to do those things, but if you're gonna go out and swing a football each time, yeah, it's gonna make it worse. So sit the guy, let him rest up, and then let him get ready. 34, man, it's getting there.
I think Tom Brady's honestly skewed my opinion on quarterback ages because, like, back in the day, it'd be like, oh, he's 34, he's at the end of his career, but Tom Brady playing until he's 45, Rodgers is like 40 at this point. It's like completely different than what it was 10 years ago.
Yeah, but you know what, though? If you listen to some of Tom Brady's interviews, he himself will tell you that when he was like 27, 20, I forgot the exact age, but like around the close to 30-year mark, he was thinking about retiring from football because his elbow was hurting so much from throwing the football before he went into this whole like pliability and like his treatment and all that kind of good stuff. So it happens to everybody. It's just how you take care of it. So it's a lot of work to take care of it, especially at that age. I'm getting up there. Jose is already there. He can't make the show today because he had a hard time getting up from his chair. So we are a little over on time, but we're going to jump to the next guy who is do we actually ride Broncos country? Let's ride. Okay, I did not make this slide. I just want to throw that out there.
I'm going to point out, other than the Matthew Stafford one, the little puns for Russell Wilson and Derek Carr I did come up with. So, you're welcome. They're
the
fantastic.
fact that this in parentheses it says the bench is I will take it. I like it. All right,
I tried. It took me way too long to figure out how to because I didn't want to just do Broncos country let's ride. I wanted to do something funny with it, like a pun. I couldn't find one, and that's what the best I came up with.
I'm gonna be real quick with it, real fast with it. I'm gonna get to the point. Listen, guys, Wilson makes his offensive line look worse than it actually is. He did the same thing in Seattle. We could talking about how in Seattle Wilson had to run around for his life because his offensive line isn't as good as it could be. Came to Denver is the same thing. I'm starting to think it's not his offensive line's fault. I'm starting to think Wilson doesn't know how to read a defense and how to call plays and how to run around. And hey, great picture. You know why? What recently came up? Him now wearing a wristband for play call help. So I don't know, but look, I'm gonna put the blame on Wilson. This Broncos, it was one of those. Broncos were one of those teams where it was just like, hey, they're a quarterback away. They were the Bucs going into 2020. Tom Brady came and it's like, oh my God, you might be Super Bowl favorites. They were the Matthew Stafford of the Rams. Because I don't know about you, I did not like Jared Goff at all, but the Rams were good. And McVay had a way of making Jared Goff look good. So a quarterback like Matthew Stafford comes in there, okay, hey, you're probably going to go to the Super Bowl. They won the Super Bowl. When Russell Wilson went to the Broncos and replaced Drew Lock, who, by the way, couldn't even get a starting job with Seattle, who we thought was going to be the worst team in the NFL this year, that's what he was replacing. And you're thinking, okay, Russell Wilson is for sure going to take him to at least the playoffs. Doesn't look like it. and they can't even score.
Yeah, I don't know. I think Russell Wilson might genuinely be a not very good quarterback. Like, I don't know if Pete Carroll just made him look that much better than he is, kind of like what's happening with Geno Smith right now. But I didn't really think about the whole offensive line thing until you had pointed it out to me. But it makes a lot of sense because I feel like maybe his pocket awareness isn't great. I had mentioned this way earlier. I think I mentioned it in like one of the off-season episodes. His decision making, sometimes it looks like he's a JV level quarterback. Like he will just throw it into triple coverage for no reason. Or I don't know if you remember. I think it was like a couple of years ago. The DK Metcalf chase down tackle. If you look at the pass that led to that, he lobbed it to the corner of the end zone, like the front corner, with a defender right there. Like he just basically tossed it to the defender. His decision making at points is dumb. And I had said that I was like, he can be a good quarterback, but his decision making is awful. And I feel like this year, especially in the Colts game, it looks like he doesn't know how to play football. Like his decision making has been atrocious this year. The offensive line hasn't looked great, but as we pointed out, it's probably his fault. He has a great team around him, and they are definitely playing way under what they should be. I get Nathaniel Hackett is a bad coach, but at the point where he's at in his career, where you're a Super Bowl winning quarterback, you've been in the league a long time, you've played quarterback in this league for a very long time. Coaching matters, yes, but I don't think going from, Vic Fangio, who's not an offensive coordinator, he was just straight defense, to I messed it up. Sorry, Pete Carroll, who's a defensive guy. He's obviously not in charge of the offense. People always said the Seahawks had bad offensive coordinators. To going to Nathaniel Hackett, who, obviously he's not a great coach. I think that you shouldn't take that much of a step back being a veteran quarterback. You should know how to have a winning team. You're obviously in those conversations when it comes to plays, being a veteran, superstar quarterback. And it's just, I'm not going to give it all the blame to him because I don't think it's ever the case. But a big, big chunk of the blame, in my opinion, is going to Russell Wilson here.
Well, so I'm going to give you a prime example real quick as far as, the difference between a rookie quarterback and a veteran quarterback. Maybe a guy we should have added on the slide was Aaron Rodgers, right? Because as much as they beat Dallas last week, called it, as much as they beat Dallas last week, they're still, I think they're 3-6 or 4-6 now, something like that. They don't look too hot, right? Or they're 4-5. I'm sorry, they don't look too hot.
The Packers, I think, are 4-6.
Maybe. Either way, they last week on a 3rd and short, when they were trying to drive down the field against the Cowboys to put the game away in regulation, on a 3rd and 2, they threw the ball. It didn't happen, and you saw Aaron Rodgers go to the sideline and yell at his coach Matt LaFleur, and obviously the audio wasn't there, but it looked like he was saying "run the ball," run the ball, and and then the first thought that went through my head is, dude, you've been playing in this league for how many years now? How often does quarterbacks go into the huddle, see what the defense looks like, and changes the play? You should have the ability to go, hey, you know what? It's a 3rd and 2. I like what I see. I'm going to change it to a run. We're going to pick up the first. Same thing. You can't put this blame on Nathaniel Hackett. And I said this a few weeks ago. Everyone gave him crap when he tried to kick a field goal on a 4th and 5 against Seattle on a 60-yard field goal. And you had Russell Wilson. It doesn't look like the worst play call ever now. I don't expect Russell Wilson to pick up that 5 yards anymore. I just don't. I don't know. Hackett's first job, blah blah blah. He has his struggles and all that kind of good stuff. But man, his defense at the end of the day is holding teams to 16, 17 points.
Yeah, their defense has been shut out. Their offense has the talent, and like you pointed out, basically he's making rookie mistakes. Young quarterbacks don't have the confidence to go over their offensive coordinator or head coach's decision and change the play at the line. They'll do audibles to change the blocking and stuff, but they'll do the same play. when you're a veteran quarterback like that, you're supposed to be able to like, oh, I can see the weakness in the defense. Like Peyton Manning was great at that, where he would like, as soon as he got off the line, he like could basically tell you what the defense was running, do a bunch of audibles, change the play around, and make it happen. Russell Wilson isn't doing any of that, and he's looking very, very bad. So, like I said, I would put a lot of the blame on Russell
I think
Wilson
is so used to just like making up the play as he goes, or like figuring it out once after the snap, that he just thinks he's going to do the same thing. Except he doesn't run around like he used to anymore. Anyway, yeah, I put the blame on Wilson. It's more like 90-10 for me. Maybe Hackett's a brand new coach. I'll put 10% of the blame on that. Russell Wilson's sucking right now. Just the truth. Anyway, ready to move on?
Yeah.
Cool. All right, let's see. Next is, oh, crap, sorry. Your car. The car breakdown. You said you did this too?
But,
Good one. Pun. I love puns. All right. So I'm going to let you take this one first.
Okay. So my opinion on this situation, I have not seen every Raiders game. Don't get me wrong. But from what I have seen, my point of view, I don't think that it's Carr's fault. Partially it's his fault. He's not having a great season. Don't get me wrong. I would put more of the fault not on the team, not on Carr, on the coaching. Oh my, Josh McDaniels he's quickly rising up to possibly being the worst head coach in the league. There is so much talent on that team to be playing as bad as it does. I get they don't have the talent really on the defensive side of the ball. They have a great like pass rush duo with Max Crosby and Chandler Jones. But it's still a weak defense. But it's not even the defense that's the problem. It's the offense. Oh my, like you have Derek Carr, who I think, I mean, at this point, I would still say is a top like 12, maybe if you want to go on the lower end, 15 guy. You have Josh Jacobs, who's playing like a top 5 running back. You have Devontae Adams, who's like a top 3 receiver. You have Darren Waller, who's a top 4 or 5 tight end. And you have Hunter Renfrew, who's a great number 2 option, if not one of the best number 2 options in the league. You have so much talent on that offense. To be playing as bad as they are makes no sense. You're losing games to teams that you have no business losing to. They're sitting at what, like 2-8 at this point, something like that. That is awful. And I know I've heard some stories from like Josh McDaniels' time in Denver, where it was I don't remember what player came out and said, I think it may have been Brandon Marshall, that like he's a brilliant mind and like one of the smartest football minds there is, which makes for a good offensive coordinator, but he's an awful leader. Which, if your team doesn't respect you as a leader,
good leader,
it's not going to work. And I feel like that's really what's showing is it's like just it's not working. And I know he has like a super complex offense, is what I've heard. That you have it's not like a bunch of young, talented like rookies or second year players or anything. You have a bunch of veterans who have been in this game. They should, if it's too complex, it's not being able to be ran with these like great veteran players. I don't know what you expect to happen. And I know it's only 1 year into his, or I guess technically 10 games into his tenure as the Raiders coach. If Mark Davis doesn't fire this man ASAP, they're delaying the inevitable, and they're going to have to go through like a 6-year rebuild, because they're going to have to rebuild to Josh McDaniels' team and then fire him eventually and then rebuild again. And I really don't want that to happen. My family is like partially Raiders fans, so I feel for them. But if they don't get rid of McDaniels fast, this team is on a downward spiral, and it's not going to look pretty for a long time.
Couple of quick points. One, I know I pointed this out before, but I keep wanting to point this out because this still blows my mind. It's the fact that you had Rick Bisaccia in your building who led this team through the worst issues that they're facing, like all at once in a season, and still did a fantastic job. And for whatever reason, you couldn't do it. Derek Carr is a pretty damn good quarterback. He really is. So, first of all, Josh McDaniels, I fully agree he needs to get fired. You know when like I know none of us are dads, but like if you have a kid and the kid wants to go play with fire, you don't let them jump into the fire. But once in a while, when they get 2-0 and you go, you know what? Go put your finger on that fire and let me know how it feels. And you get to burn and like, okay, learned your lesson. Don't ever go mess with fire again. I feel like that's what Bill Belichick is just kind of doing with Josh McDaniels. Like once in a while, you're like, all right, go do your own thing. See how that works out. And then when you realize you can't, I'll take you back as my offensive coordinator again. Derek Carr, look, he's great. I think the biggest problem is he doesn't have the same connection. Not the biggest problem. One of the biggest problems is he doesn't have the same connection with Devontae Adams like he did in college with them. It's just not the same. It's just not the same, right? And he also has the bottom 10 ranked defense in the league. Like it was just pointed out to me by our slideshow controller, Mr. Jose. So, hey, thanks for that tip. Yeah, he has a terrible defense. And yeah, I don't know. I think that offense could be great. They were great last year. He has better weapons, in my opinion, this year. Devontae Adams is fantastic. They do need to play together and build that chemistry. But I forgot which game it was where he got 4 targets. Blows my mind.
I don't remember which one, but I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, no, that's not okay. That's like saying, hey, here's Rob Gronkowski for Tom Brady and going, you're just going to block today. You're not going to catch any pass. Like, no, hey, he helps you win games. Let's no, my blame. Yeah. Coaching. And you know what? I'm going to call out the owners a bit because it still blows my mind. You had the successor to John Gruden in the building, in your building. And they were speaking so highly of the guy when they first made him the interim coach. I don't get it, but it is
my thing. I spent a lot of time on Twitter, like probably more than I should. Raiders fans, you would think that they would still be like sticking behind Derek Carr and they want him to be their quarterback and whatnot. I mean, there still are, don't get me wrong, there are Raiders fans who do. I have seen so many Raiders fans, like say, F Derek Carr, he's a garbage quarterback, we need to get rid of him. And I'm like, that's just ridiculous.
Fans are impatient and impractical.
Which is fair, yes. And Twitter is probably the most toxic version of fans.
It's you need a fall guy. You need someone to blame for every mistake everybody else is making. And oftentimes it's a quarterback, which I get because most of the time the credit for wins goes to the quarterback. So therefore the discredit for the losses also go to the quarterback. I understand that. But look, if your defense is giving up 30 points a game, and yeah, I don't know.
Which also one thing is I don't know how the fall guy would be Derek Carr. I would say it should be on McDaniels completely. Which Raiders fans are like, oh, well, they're obviously gonna get a high pick because they are a bad team. What they need to do is like what they want them to do is draft a quarterback like CJ Stroud or Bryce Young, which makes sense. If you don't want Carr as your quarterback, you get one of the young guys. You don't usually this team, like it's really hard to get a top pick when there's top quarterbacks, in the draft. So you got to make that move sometimes. But my problem is this is not a good situation to put a young quarterback in. It's kind of setting them up for failure because hypothetically, Bryce Young is probably going to go number 1. You get CJ Stroud at like number 2. Well, Devontae Adams the reason he came to the Raiders was to play with Derek Carr for the most part. He's probably going to want to trade to a better team who's a contender. They're not going to be a contender with a young quarterback. Darren Waller's getting up there in age. Their defense isn't good. I don't even think they have that much cap space. If you get a young quarterback, you're basically setting them up for failure. I know that sounds like a very negative situation, but you need to stick with Carr, in my opinion. I know it sucks this season when you're at 2-8 with a talented roster. Derek Carr has been very solid his entire career. I know it was that 6 years ago now or whatever, whenever he was like in the MVP conversation before he broke his leg. But
they had the same record as the Patriots that year until he broke his leg.
Every year of his career until like even this year, I don't even think he's been bad, but he's been having a down year.
I think he's 15 TDs to 5 interceptions, something like that.
But what's the common denominator here? Is Josh McDaniels as his head coach is why he's doing bad. I feel like that's very obvious to me, at least. Josh McDaniels.
I don't know if it's a perfect solution, but can I throw a really good solution out there?
Yes.
Do whatever you want with McDaniels for the rest of the year. I don't care. End of the year, fire the guy. And then you know who's not going to be under contract next
I don't
year?
know.
Sean Payton is a perfect fit for
That's
Derek
honestly
Carr.
good.
Everybody keeps talking about Sean Payton and Tom Brady, him going to Miami, maybe with Tua, blah, 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 blah. Man, Sean Payton, because give me personality differences between Derek Carr and Drew Brees.
They seem very similar to me, to be honest.
Sean Payton is a perfect fit for Derek Carr. He gets to go coach Derek Carr, who, in my opinion, is a very, very solid quarterback. So is Drew Brees. Maybe Drew Brees is a little better, but they're both very good, in my opinion. He would have Devontae Adams. If Devontae Adams is coachable, you know he's got the skills. And Peyton can help with the defense, I would assume. But even if he can't help too much with the defense, with Sean Payton's offensive mind and with these guys as his offensive players, they'll probably be putting up 35 points a game. Doesn't matter how bad your defense is. I mean, it still matters, but you get the point.
But also, Sean Payton's one of those coaches that, like, makes their team better overall. And I think, honestly, if that happens, if Sean Payton becomes the head coach of the Raiders next, I would expect, I mean, obviously it's not that hard to get better than a 2-8 record, but I would expect a very massive jump with going from a coach like McDaniels to Sean Payton.
Yeah, Jose just asked if Cowboys fail would, yeah, absolutely. First of all, who in the right minds would want to go work for Jerry Jones? Second of all, yeah, Sean Payton and Derek Carr sounds a hell of a lot better to me than Sean Payton and Dak Prescott. That's just my personal opinion.
I don't see the Cowboys firing Mike McCarthy.
Yeah.
Unless, like, absolute drastic, shambles of something happens. I don't know. Unless it goes very downhill very fast, I don't see them firing Mike McCarthy this year. I don't think he's a great coach at all, but with how good of a year they've had this year, to where I am actually like, they're a scary team. They could make a run for a Super Bowl. I don't think they fire him.
Fair enough. Well, we'll see. I mean, if they do, I can also see Dan Quinn becoming the head coach.
I could see that too.
Anyway, all right. So we got one more quarterback we're going to talk about.
My boy Justin Fields.
Justin Fields close to
I could be missing some names here.
How dare he?
I could be missing some names here, so forgive me if I did.
Did you write this?
Yes.
Did you write yet? Come on.
Yes.
Show some respect.
Listen, I love Fields. I have his jersey behind me too. But I love Justin Fields. I don't think he's quite top 10 yet. I would put him more in the 12 to 15-ish range.
Hold on. Real quick. We're not talking all-time here, right?
No.
Okay.
I'm talking about just this season.
Okay.
Why don't we talk about all time? Guys,
wait, but if we're talking just this season, you don't think he's top 10 yet?
I don't. I think he had a rough start to the year. Like, it was very bad. But he definitely has turned it around. I mean, he's had 4 like elite level games in a row.
Yeah, but okay, first of all, hold on. Yeah, but that's the point. I don't think you should look at where the guy is so far in the season now. Then I'm sorry, you know what? I'm gonna let you go.
No, you can go first. That's fine.
I just want to say, like, yeah, he had a rough start, but you know who, like, if you look, you're like, okay, you had a rough start and then you improved and you just look so great right now versus Josh Allen, who leads the league in turnovers right now. And
I didn't even know he did that.
Yeah, and by the way, he lost against Minnesota after leading by 10, I think, or 17, or whatever whatever it was. Joe Burrow struggled in the beginning of the year. Geno Smith just lost his 4th game, put up 16 points against the Buccaneers. Justin Herbert just lost to the 49ers. Like, all of these QBs have flaws except Patrick Mahomes because he's from, like, Mars or something. I don't know. Like, that guy, he's different. And then other debatable QBs, Kirk Cousins still can't perform in a primetime game. Kyler Murray runs around like a toddler. He can't win 50% of the games in a season. Yeah, call me crazy. And Trevor Lawrence, I was rooting for Trevor Lawrence like no other. But Trevor Lawrence is right now, I'm sorry, Maybe eventually, but right now, the way these two quarterbacks are playing, not at the same level. And the only one that I would argue on with is Tom Brady. But again,
I
Tom
think personally,
Brady
Tom Brady's had a rough year.
he had a rough year, and he's also progressing just like, or not, maybe not to the same level as Justin Fields, but he's also getting better by the day, it seems like. So I don't know. So just my two thoughts. Go ahead.
I'm trying to pull up Fields' stats real quick. Give me 1 second. Okay, apparently I can't find it. I'm dumb and don't know how to do the internet. Fields has had like I said, he had a rough start to the year. He's definitely turned it around, and it wasn't against like scrub defenses either. I think we've talked about this many times because I like to talk about Justin Fields. New England always does good against young quarterbacks, and honestly, they're a good defense just overall. Then it was Dallas, who I think have a top 5, top 3 defense. Their defense is very, very good. Dolphins, I don't think have a good defense. It's not bad. They definitely have some pieces, and they had just gotten Bradley Chubb, so that obviously made their defense a lot better than what the stats had shown up until that point in the year. And then this last week, the Lions are the ones with the bad defense, yes, but the point is there was like 2 really good defenses, a solid defense and a bad defense, and his play didn't like really change. It was just elite all the way across the board. The biggest downside that people talk about when it comes to Fields is his not having a lot of passing yards, which if you get yards, I don't understand why like how it matters if it's passing or running. He's having like
you're moving the chains. Who cares?
Because they're like, oh, he doesn't throw for over 200 yards. Yes, but he has 300 plus all-purpose yards every game.
So he's
4
25th.
touchdowns.
He's 25th in passing yards, but he's 6th in rushing yards.
Okay. So this was not including week 10, but in like the 3 games before the Lions game, Justin Fields had 441 passing yards, 385 rushing yards, 11 touchdowns, and 1 turnover, which was an interception. I think counting the Lions one, it was, I could be wrong. I think it was like 14 touchdowns or something. Okay, 4 games, including all of them. He has accounted for over 270 yards from scrimmage per game, has 13 touchdowns, which is 8 passing, 5 rushing, versus 2 turnovers. There was the interception versus the Patriots where it got tipped at the line of scrimmage, and then there was the pick six he threw at the end of the game against the Lions. With a 103.5 passer rating, which would be the 5th highest in the NFL over the full season, and over 3 touchdowns a game. All I can say, the Bears team, our defense is like the worst in the league. I'm not going to lie. But we have our quarterback.
Fantastic offensive line.
It was awful at the beginning of the year. I think Fields makes it look better.
You have a blind man playing center.
Okay. Listen, I despise Sam Mustipher. I can't wait till he's benched. Like, listen, Fields it feels amazing as a Bears fan to have a franchise quarterback. I've been a fan since like 2008. We've never had one. Jay Cutler was okay. He was never anything special. Justin Fields is going to be elite. I think next year he'll be a top 10, probably even in the top 5 conversation. But I think at this point, I also try and hide my bias by my opinion. I'm like, no, I'm going to put it a little bit lower because I don't want to be just the bias take over. I think top 10 is definitely in the conversation. I just think I would probably say top 12. So the definitelys, I had Patrick Mahomes has a better season, obviously. Josh Allen, I think, has definitely had a better season. He has been inconsistent as well, but over the full course of the season, I would still take Josh Allen. Lamar Jackson.
They're crumbling.
Yeah, the Bills are but I'm questioning them a lot right now. But Lamar Jackson, I think, has had a better year. Hurts obviously has, but Hurts also has a much better situation. He has like the best offensive line in football, an elite receiver, an elite tight end.
They've also played crap teams.
That is also true.
Oh, again, I know we'll talk about it. Called it. Washington beat them.
I know you did really good this week, and I give you credit. I'll give you a round of applause.
I'm gonna be a little cocky on that. I'm not gonna lie.
Just don't hurt my feelings too bad. Tua, I love Tua so far this year. He also has better weapons, but Tua's had a great year. I'm not taking anything away from him. Geno Smith has played like an MVP. Definitely had a better season than Fields. Herbert, I think it's questionable, to be honest, but I definitely think Herbert's a better quarterback. And Joe Burrow, I think, is he's had some very ugly games. He's had worse games than Fields has, but he has had better games, I think, than Fields has, at least from a passing standpoint. Kirk Cousins, yeah, the primetime Kirk is just so bad. I don't know if I could ever put him in a top 10 list. Kyler, I was higher on Kyler going into the season than I am right now. I don't really like Kyler as a quarterback at the moment. Tom Brady, I think I would probably put above Fields just from he's had a bad year, but he's also had a worse offensive line and he's not mobile enough to like work around it. Trevor Lawrence, I think, will be up there with Fields. I think they'll be neck and neck most of their career. I think Lawrence has more of a problem with turnovers than Fields does. So I would give it to Fields. I think he's right on that border, but I don't know if I would be confident saying just flat out top 10 yet.
I want to say one thing real quick, and I'm not trying to hurt Kirk Cousins' feelings, but man, Justin Jefferson makes him look like 5 times better than he is.
Oh, without a doubt. But
dude, like I don't watch a lot of Vikings game because let's face it, it's the Vikings. They'll win like 10 or 11 games a season, and then they don't win in the playoffs ever. Not ever, but they lose. They're not relevant. But I saw the Bills Vikings game last week, and I think I texted you that. I was like, man, Justin Jefferson makes Kirk Cousins look so much better than he actually is. It's crazy.
Honestly, not all of them, but a lot of top quarterbacks, the receivers make them look better. Tua, I think Tua's having a great year, and I'm not taking away from him, but having Tyreek Hill and Waddle take dump off passes like 60 yards for a touchdown definitely makes you look a lot better. Fields doesn't really have that. Mooney has had some plays that where he had to make the play, or it's like looks bad on Fields' part. But for the most part, Fields doesn't really have that guy. I think when he gets a guy like that, he'll do better. The last thing I want to add about this, so we don't go like way over the time as we already are. A lot of people say a big problem with Fields is his play isn't what's the word I'm looking for? Sustainable. He has the same play style as Lamar Jackson, who people were like, oh, Lamar Jackson's play style is not going to be sustainable. It's still working. Jalen Hurts, it's not going to work. It's still working. Even Kyler Murray, it's still working. I don't know why with Justin Fields, like they haven't learned that you can be a mobile quarterback. Someone's pointed this out. It's honestly like more likely to get hurt as a pocket passer than a mobile quarterback as long as you slide, because you can escape the pressure. If you're like a statue in the pocket, you're not avoiding any hits from like the defensive tackles. Yeah, Fields will get hit by some cornerbacks and safeties and some linebackers sometimes, but for the most part, he's going to slide. He's done a really good job sliding. You can't slide in the pocket. I think that it's completely overlooked. Like, I don't think being a mobile quarterback leads to more injuries. I don't think that's been a problem other than like the last mobile quarterback I know that had a bunch of injuries was Robert Griffin III.
But it statistically does.
I don't know if that's necessarily true, especially with the new rules where you can't touch the quarterback. Like they could slide. People don't touch them.
Yeah, so the difference is pocket passers, what they learn real quick is to throw the freaking football away. They get sacked or whatever and they can't run away. They can't get away from a hit. But like, I don't know, man. You got to go look at the numbers on that. I guarantee you mobile quarterbacks get hurt more than pocket passers do. Promise you that.
I don't know. None of the mobile quarterbacks have been hurt this year, but I guess Kyler Murray is hurt now. I guess that's technically wrong. I don't even know what his injury was because I feel like he finished the game last week and then just didn't play like on like Thursday or something. They're like, oh yeah, Kyler might not play for whatever reason.
Yeah. Oh, well, it doesn't matter.
I just think that, yes, I'd prefer him to be more of a pocket passer, but I think that his play style is sustainable because Lamar Jackson's been doing it for years. Jalen Hurts does it right now. Kyler Murray has been doing it for years. It's definitely it's possible. Yeah, he'll get a little banged up sometimes, but I have no worries about it being sustainable.
Oh, Murray injured his hamstring. I think the baby forgot to stretch.
My biggest thing with Murray, the difference between Murray and Justin Fields, I think Justin Fields is like 1,000% a better passer than Kyler Murray is.
Also, like a foot taller.
That is also true. You have some hatred for Kyler Murray. I think it's funny.
I don't know. Like, I just can I say, even I was surprised what level I had him as quarterback when we were doing the QB rankings. I don't feel so bad anymore.
Yeah, no, I don't even think you were. I don't. You had him like, I don't even remember. Wasn't it like 18
I'm
or
pretty
19?
sure I had him in like the 20s.
Oh
The
no,
20s.
you did. Yeah.
It's pretty
Which,
darn low.
yeah. Kyler, and you know he didn't even play that great in the first half. We're into second half. Kyler Murray, like, it could be bad.
Cool. Well, I think that's everything we have. And like I said, we're definitely over the time. But we are going to go ahead and call it a day. Thank you so much for joining in. If you have anything else you want to add to any of your QB thoughts, please feel free to. But in the meantime, we will also see you back on our Thursday night picks. Feel free to check us out on our website, coolsportsguy.com, our Instagram, our Twitter, and our Facebook. Thank you so much for joining, and have a fantastic night.